Well, somebody wanted me to play Call of Duty, so I guess I'll do that now, because why not?
I'm an existential nihilist, I think that, much like yourself. And, I'm curious to discuss the culling predators thing.
Okay, well, if you want to discuss culling predators, I can open up the Discord, if you would like.
Okay, so I had some questions about the whole culling predators thing, right?
Okay, sure.
So as far as, first of all, let me just prefix this by saying that I don't know if I have a strong opinion either way. I do think that we should be concerning, we should try and stop even wildlife suffering and wildlife rights violations.
Sure.
However, the culling of the predator thing just seems overly simplistic to me, if you ask me, because in a ecosystem, there isn't a food chain, but rather a food web, right? So there is no odd predator. There is just one part of the web, not the whole. Like, I understand the need for odds so that animals don't attack each other, but I don't think that would work out. I don't think that's a solution.
Okay, again, the idea is, if there was a predatory species that regularly predated upon humans, like if xenomorphs existed, we'd eradicate that species to protect humans. Why wouldn't you do that with, like, wolves or lions or cheetahs or tigers?
I don't know if I agree that we should even eradicate that species, right? It's not like, I mean, I know, for example, in the Netherlands, they have tried to eradicate wolves, and now they're trying to bring them back, right? Wolves were attacking people at some point, and they try to bring them back because they are part of the ecosystem. So, yeah, maybe we should defend ourselves against certain species, but eradicate the whole species? I'm not sure I agree with that.
Right, but I mean, if you could have ecological engineering that could prevent, like, things like overpopulation, why wouldn't you eradicate a species?
Yeah, I see your point. So your point is that if there is a solution where we could eradicate the species that poses a threat to us, why shouldn't we do that? Because, well, is this species a moral agent? Do they understand morality?
Oh, I don't see how it's relevant, whether they have agency or not. They're violating the rights of others.
They are violating the rights of others, but the question is, can they stop violating the rights of others without them being exterminated?
I mean, hypothetically, we could develop some sort of technology that would separate predator and prey species, but we're probably not going to have that technology until after we have the technology to just eradicate a species, and again, just do things like population control.
Okay, and why would the solution be to eradicate them in that case and not just contain them up to a point where we can make them not attack us anymore?
Well, again, we'd probably have the technology to be able to eradicate a species and deal with whatever consequences that might create, like overpopulation of certain prey species, before we'd have the technology to contain them, feed them, like, I don't know, some sort of lab-grown meat or artificial animal or something.
And in this hypothetical scenario, is there a way to protect ourselves without killing them?
Well, I mean, conceivably, but the issue is, if this prey species is existing, they're going to try to kill whatever species they see as prey. So you're not going to be able to, if you just have, like, if you're just going to, say, shoot a xenomorph if it just comes near you or starts attacking you, there are going to be circumstances where a xenomorph is still going to be able to attack and kill a human. So the idea would be to eradicate the species, because in order for them to exist, they're going to violate the rights of another species. So same like with the xenomorph example, we'd want to eradicate xenomorphs, we'd want to eradicate, like, lions, tigers, shit like that.
But I'm not sure that we want to eradicate the species, right? What we want is for our species to be protected. What we want is for each individual of our species to not be attacked by these people. Yeah, I call them people, okay. But that means maybe each and every person has to wear a weapon that is good against this certain xenomorphs, right?
That's not a solution, that's a band-aid. Like, again, if you could eradicate the species and you know you're going to kill them every time they try to violate the rights of another organism, why wouldn't you just eradicate them?
Because the reason why I ask if they're moral agents is because if they don't know right for wrong, right? If they cannot assess or choose differently, then that means they are a victim of circumstance, and it's not necessarily their fault.
Who cares?
That they have to eat.
I don't know how that's relevant.
Well, it is relevant because then maybe we should apply a band-aid, as you call it, until we have a solution.
Okay,
right?
so we
Until we have the
should
technology.
just let them like starve to death, slowly die of starvation, maybe end up killing a few people, but in circumstances when we can kill them, we'll kill them. Like, how is that a better solution?
But why would they starve to death, right? Like you said, we could be feeding
Well,
them
you're going to
lab-grown meat.
okay, but we're probably not going to have that technology before we have the technology to just eradicate the species.
I see what you mean. So your hypothetical is that we're in this, I don't know, 20-year period, not like in our very near future, and in our very near future, we don't have the technology to eradicate a species, by the way, in our very near future, unless...
Well, sure we do.
I mean,
We've eradicated plenty of species.
we have, but like to eradicate a whole species means to hunt, like literally hunt down absolutely each member of that species and kill them, right? I mean, yeah, we could theoretically do it, but I'm not sure that we have
We've
the
done
technology
that
to do
with
that simply.
dodos. We've done that with thylacines. We've done that with certain species of wolves. We've done that with plenty of species.
Sure, but how long did that take? Did that take 20 years? Because if that whole
Yeah,
eradication
it
takes
literally
more than...
only it literally only took like what, roughly a decade.
I don't know about that. Okay, if you say it only took a decade. Okay, but still, like, I mean, I do think, like, you see, there's all of these side solutions that you call them band-aids. And yeah, sure, maybe they are band-aids, but shouldn't we apply band-aids until we have a solution where we don't violate their rights?
No, because in the meantime, they're going to be violating the rights of others.
Okay, I see. So, I mean...
Like, if we were at war with Nazi Germany, would you have just said, you know, rather than trying to eradicate all the Nazis, let's just all carry guns and, you know, only shoot them when they come near us and shit, and maybe we should just give Jews, like, weapons so that, you know, just in case they come across Nazis. Like, no, you don't want to eradicate all Nazis. Like,
Okay, that's
I'm
a good
sure,
point.
I'm sure in the future you could come up with some, like, crazy technology using AI and robots and shit that would be able to trap Nazis and put them in a cage and feed them and everything, but like, why would you let them murder, like, just murder innocent people in the meantime up until that technology is created?
Okay, I understand your point of view. But like what we're talking now is practicabilities, right? Are we talking about whether this is a practical solution, or are we talking about whether this is a moral solution?
Well, it's more about if it's a moral solution or a moral imperative.
Okay, but then if the question is whether it's moral or not, then I think even killing Hitler is immoral, right? The moral thing
No,
to
it's
do
not.
would be to stop. Well, the moral thing to do would be to stop him, right? To
Yeah,
contain
and
him,
if the
not to
only way to
necessarily...
stop Hitler was to kill him, then that would be the moral thing to do.
I completely agree. But in this case, the moral thing to do would be to place band-aids, and until we have a better solution where we don't eradicate the whole species. Maybe we just kill certain individuals to protect ourselves up until we don't eradicate the whole species, right?
Yeah, why would you do that when they're going to be violating the rights of other organisms?
Because they violate the rights of other organisms because they don't know any better, right?
Yeah,
It's
who
their right
cares?
to survive also.
That doesn't matter. Like, again, if the Nazis were some sort of crazy, deranged lunatics that didn't have moral agency, would you have this position? Well, let's not kill Hitler. Let's not kill the Nazis. Let's just try to keep them alive as much as possible and have these weird band-aid fixes that's guaranteed to result in innocent lives being taken away until we can come up with some sort of like, no. The moral agency doesn't matter. What matters is that they're violating the rights of other individuals.
Okay, so but then let me throw a hypothetical at you, right? If we find children who violate the rights of others, should we eliminate those children because they violate the rights of others?
Sorry, ask that again?
So if we find children who violate the rights of others, right, because they don't have moral agency, they don't know any better, should we
Well,
kill
yeah,
these children?
if killing's the only conceivable option, like if a 15-year-old kid takes an AR-15, brings it to school and is going to commit a mass killing, then yeah, kill the kid.
Okay, but what you're talking about is a situation, it's not a premeditated situation, right? Because the problem that I have with calling predators is the premeditation of it, right? Where we go, before they even attack us, that we go and kill them.
Yeah, because
right?
we
It's
know
not
they're
a
going to do it.
Okay, but okay, so what you're saying is that if you see a child with an AR gun, even if they're not, even if you don't know for sure that they're going to attack somebody, or you assume that they're going to attack somebody, right? Because it is premeditated, you should kill that child.
Yeah, if I saw a kid walking into a school with an AR-15, I'd fucking shoot him.
Okay, not try to stop him, not try to take the gun away from him.
Oh, excuse me, what are you planning to do with that gun? Turns around, shoots me. Yeah, I'm not going to take that risk.
No, I get it, but like you could argue that there is a solution where you go from the back, I don't know, try to pin him down, try to take the gun away from him.
Right, I'm going to try to
It
pin
isn't-
down a guy with an AR-15 that can shoot you from 600 yards away.
Yeah, okay. I don't know what to say. So okay, so let's just put it this way. I think that in the situation that you mentioned, in the hypotheticals that you thrown, maybe it could make sense that you could eradicate the whole species, as you say, so that you don't violate more rights of other individuals, right? Although I still disagree that that's the solution. Maybe we should eradicate, I don't know, 30% of them, and then try to see if until we get and put a band-aid on it until we have a solution. That's what I would think. But
Why?
let's say I
They're
can
going to
agree with-
violate the rights of others.
Yeah, but there is again the same thing. We keep coming back to the same thing.
Like,
right?
in order for
They don't
them
have
to
moral
be
agency.
alive, they have to commit murder. So why would you want murderers running around?
They have to commit murder, but it's not their choice that they have to do.
Yeah,
it.
that doesn't matter. The agency doesn't matter. A kid walking into a school with an AR-15 might have some sort of social disease or some sort of brain deformity or be in psychosis and doesn't have the moral agency to be in control of his actions. That doesn't mean it's wrong to shoot the kid to prevent those rights violations.
Okay, but then let me ask you this: why don't we kill all the meat eaters after all?
Yeah,
right?
I
Like,
would be in favor of that.
You would be in favor of
Yeah,
killing
why
all
would
of
I
them?
why would I want meat eaters to live?
I don't know, man. That's a pretty extreme position to believe, right?
Well, what's extreme about that? Killing all the meat eaters, which might be like, what, around 6 billion people, or letting 6 billion people kill 1 trillion animals per year.
Yeah, but out of those 6 billion people, how many don't know any better? How many have been
Well, who
coerced into a
cares?
position
Well,
that they
guess
didn't
what?
necessarily choose?
Well, who cares? They're killing 1 trillion animals per year.
Well, the reason why you should care is because it's the same thing as a golden rule, right? You yourself could be coerced.
Yeah, and
into
if
a
I was
position
committing
without
murder,
knowing.
I'd want somebody to murder me, so I stop committing murder.
So you're saying that if you unknowingly commit murder, you would want somebody to
Yes,
kill
I would
you?
want somebody to kill me and stop me.
Even if you would otherwise want to stop, you would say, no, kill me.
Okay, well, like, again, with human beings, you can go up to them and say, hey, if you don't go vegan, I'm going to kill you, and if they refuse, then yeah, kill them.
Okay, so there is a form there that a bit of communication, or I don't know.
You
moral
can't reason
agency.
with a tiger.
No, you can't reason with a tiger, but like, okay, so as far as I understand, okay, I can't go down this because I feel like this is your position. I don't necessarily agree with your position, but
What's the
as far as I
disagreement?
understand, well, I don't think I would go the ultimate solution of killing somebody before I don't try every patch available. That's just how I am. Right?
Okay, so if you saw a kid gunning down all of his classmates, let's say there's 20 kids in the room, you're on the other side of the door. Are you going to try to reason with that kid as he one by one executes each of those fellow classmates, or are you going to rush through the room and just shoot that kid before he kills anybody? Like, as you're trying to reason with somebody, if they're committing murder, is it better to try to reason with them, and then by the time they're at their 10th murder, oh, finally they've made the choice to stop committing murder? Or is it better to rush into the room and kill them before they kill a single person?
I mean, in a situation where they are already committing murder, yeah, you should stop them, right? If I see a lion trying to attack a gazelle, perhaps I'll try to stop
Well, you
them.
know they're going to do it in the
It's-
future. It's the only way they can live.
I mean, yeah, the way I see that, it's premeditative, right? And I mean, with animals, yeah, maybe you know for a fact that lions will kill to eat, right? But then let me ask you, because in a scenario where you don't have moral agency and where you don't have options, the question is, what is the moral thing to do if it's your life versus their life, right? What is it? Why is it that you should kill one or the other, right? That's what I don't understand in this scenario. But
Okay, you're going to have to explain that a little better because I'm not understanding what you're trying to ask or argue.
so let me see how I can put this. So in all of these scenarios where you're in a situation where you see somebody attacking somebody else, it's good to try and stop them, right? Either by killing the attacker or by just somehow intervening and trying to stop the attack, right? But with animals, when let's say a lion would die if they don't eat a gazelle otherwise, right? Then the scenario is the lion's life versus the gazelle's life. So who are you to say that I'd rather kill the lion than let the lion kill the gazelle? Like, why would the life of a lion be
Because
more valuable than
the
the life of a
lion's the
gazelle?
one who's violating the rights of another being.
Okay, so But the lion, okay, the lion is violating the rights of another being, but the lion does not do that knowingly or in a moral or immoral framework. Like they don't
Okay,
know that what they're doing is wrong.
okay, we keep circling back to this, so let's just squash each point one by one. So you're talking about moral agency being a factor. Let's actually list this out. So we've
I'm
got
gonna write it down too.
let me make a text document here. So you've got lions do not have moral agency, therefore they can not be held responsible for their decisions. Thus, it's immoral to kill a lion to stop it from eating a gazelle. So, for the moral agency issue, if there was a deranged child who's 15, let's say he's under psychosis or has some other sort of like mental health issue that would make him not a moral agent, and he's about to kill 15 of his classmates with an AR-15. He's lacking moral agency. Would it be moral to shoot and kill that kid to prevent him from committing 15 murders?
Yes, it would be, but that is not the same situation as the lion.
Okay,
and
what's
gazelle,
the
is it?
symmetry breaker?
Well, the difference is that, or the symmetry breaker, as you put it, is that the child doesn't need to kill those people in order to survive, whereas the lion would be in a situation where they need to eat the gazelle to survive.
Okay, let's say this kid is just recently turned into a vampire, and he needs to kill 15 people in order to live. Would it be okay to kill the child?
In this situation, what I would say is I would take maybe more of a utilitarian approach, and it's 1 versus 15, right? So in that situation, again, it's different because it's 1 lion versus 1 gazelle, not 1 lion versus 15 gazelles.
Well,
if
it
it's 1
is.
lion versus 15 gazelles,
Well, it is
well,
one
it is.
lion versus 15 or 100 or 200, depending on how long the lion lives. Like, a lion can't live off of one single gazelle its entire life.
Yeah, I understand that, but the issue is that maybe a gazelle will be stepping on bugs or will be killing also some.
You could make
some
that argument
creatures
for the
throughout their
lion.
whole life.
So we know the lion is going to exist. We
true.
know the lion's going to step on bugs. So the lion's certainly going to commit more murder throughout the course of its life.
That's true. Okay. Yeah, but I just don't agree with the premeditation of it, and with the premeditation.
Well, wait,
and
wait. We're not done with this yet. We're specifically
Yeah,
on moral agency. So premeditation is another thing that you're mentioning. So if let's say a kid was bitten by a vampire, becomes a vampire, and has to kill one person each day to maintain its existence, would it be moral to kill the kid who just turned into a vampire?
This kid has moral agency, as you mentioned, and this kid does the kid have alternatives?
Well, let's say being a vampire removes moral agency, and you just become like a ruthless killing machine.
Okay, and is there an alternative
No,
for the
no.
child
You have to drink the blood from a full living being, like human being, and you have to kill them.
Okay, so then in this scenario, the way I see it, right, there's what would happen to the kid is either if we isolate the people from him, he would starve to death, or if
he'd
we
starve
kill
to
him
death.
directly. Okay, I see your point. I see your point of view on this one. Yeah, maybe in this scenario, it would be better to just kill him directly rather than let him starve to death. If there is, of course, if you are 100% sure that he will be killing regardless.
Yeah, the only option is you can either let the vampire live and murder countless humans, so one every single day to maintain its existence, or have him starve to death.
Okay, yeah, in that situation, then maybe it would be better to kill the vampire before they attack more.
Right, okay, so we're done with that. Moral agency doesn't matter, so now we're on to the premeditation issue, so why don't you describe the premeditation argument?
Let me, before we go there, I want to think if we're done with the moral agency situation, if there is absolutely no reason to... Okay, let's say we're done with the moral agency. Okay. Premeditation. Well, I think we kind of smashed that also with this example, right? Because we're obviously going to premeditatively kill this person. But in a real life scenario, right? I mean, in all of these hypotheticals, yes, it works. But in a real life scenario, we don't know for a fact that somebody's going to kill somebody else, right?
Well, you absolutely do. Either a lion starves to death, or it's going to commit murder to maintain its existence. So, given that lions typically want to live and don't want to starve to death, we can be sure with pretty much 100% certainty that the lion is going to at least attempt to kill another animal.
Okay, then I'll give you this. In an isolated ecosystem where by removing the lion from the ecosystem, we would be eliminating more deaths, then yeah, maybe in that system it would be better to kill the lion beforehand. But I still think eradicating the whole species would not necessarily be good, right? Because we could still kill a certain percentage or each individual up to a point when consider it a patch, up until a point when we can no longer need to kill them or eradicate the whole species.
Okay. So let's say vampires existed and they predate on humans specifically. So each vampire is going to have to kill one human being per day. So if there's let's say there's 100 vampires living in society, that means there's going to be 100 murders every single day until we kill the vampires. So what would be the argument against eradicating the vampires?
And the vampires don't serve any part in the ecosystem whatsoever.
Yeah, sure. Let's assume that.
Assume that. Okay, maybe there's no reason not to eradicate all the vampires, but
right. So if we could identify a predatory species that doesn't fulfill a necessary ecological niche, so like the wolves in Yellowstone Park, they were actually gone completely from Yellowstone until recently. They were recently introduced for no fucking reason. Why wouldn't we eradicate all the predatory animals from that ecosystem?
That's the thing, right? If we know for a fact that a wolf are not absolutely needed in any ecosystem, and by needed, I don't mean that, because obviously when you eradicate a species from an ecosystem will be thrown out of balance, but it will find balance again. And I don't mean that, but I rather mean that, let's say the ecosystem maintains the same balance, right? Because I don't know. I feel like whenever we eradicate one species, there will be another who take their place.
Look. When you say throw an ecosystem out of balance, like, I mean, what does that even fucking mean? I don't really care if there's more beavers or more deer. Like, if they can live just fine, so what if a certain species population increases? So what if there's like I don't know, a more dominant species in the ecosystem? As long as they're not violating the rights of other animals, who cares?
Well, the reason why you should care is because all these other species, even if they're not violating the rights amongst each other, they do share resources, right? So if one species multiplies more than other species, especially if it's a species that eat or consumes more resources to stay alive than a species that consumes less resources, then that means from a utilitarian point of view that you will probably, by eradicating this species, you may end up in a scenario where you take more lives of individuals.
Okay, well, I'm not a utilitarian, so I don't know why I'd particularly care, but let's have a hypothetical scenario. Let's say if we removed wolves from Yellowstone, that means the deer population increases, and they might have resource competition with rabbits, let's say. So the deer outcompete the rabbits, and that reduces the rabbit population. So there's more deer, less rabbits than there were before. Why would that be a worse alternative than having a vicious group of animals that brutally murders all of these other species by ripping their living guts out?
Trying to think. I don't know if it's necessary. Like, of course, when you put it like that, obviously it would be weird for me to say that, yeah, okay, well, there's no issue there, right? But when we discussed all of these hypotheticals, right, one of the other solution towards them not eating was starving to death, right? So then the question is, like, because I feel like there is something there.
Okay, well, I think I'd personally rather starve to death than get hunted down by vampires and have my guts ripped out of me while I'm still conscious.
Okay, I see your point of view, right? But that's your preference, right? Like, that's just, I don't know if anybody would prefer that, because I also don't know that they are always alive and conscious as they're being eaten out. Right?
Yeah, they usually are.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe in this scenario, it wouldn't necessarily be bad to be killing the predators. But all of this. So let's assume that we've established that if we could eradicate a species from the ecosystem becomes whatever it becomes, and no rights violations are committed onto sentient individuals. But does that mean that no rights will ever be violated amongst
No, it doesn't
individuals? Does it
necessarily
mean
mean they'll never be, but again, we know for a fact deer don't like rip apart other animals and eat out their living guts.
okay? But like this ecosystem is in isolation, right? Because could it happen that certain species from one ecosystem would bleed out to a different ecosystem, and while we are calling odd predators, they yet again we reach a situation where there are predators, or do we just kill absolutely all the predators in the world?
Well, ideally, we could kill all the predators.
Okay, so what you're saying and is that the predators in an don't really have an evolutionary role in an ecosystem?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, morally speaking, it'd be better to live in a world without predators, if that were possible.
Okay, yeah, I don't disagree there. Yeah, it would be better to live in a world without any predators, but does that mean we should be killing the predators, right? That's the question.
Yeah, it probably does.
Yeah, I don't know, because see, this is where I disagree. Most of my disagreement comes from this, because I think it's kind of like an overly simplistic view, right? Because again, I think like there's all of these other issues that could just make it so that we like we as human beings have intervened in so many ecosystems so far, and every time we do, we realize that we don't know enough about the whole ecosystem, right? So why would we assume that we know enough about these
Yeah,
ecosystems
so
to
I'm not
intervene?
saying we know enough right now where we could reliably eliminate predators and assume we don't cause like massive ecological collapse. This is just an intellectual debate on whether or not we should be moving towards a world where we use technology to engineer ecosystems in a way where we could eliminate all predatory species. Because one day we will
Okay.
have the technology, certainly. So if we're going to come to that moral conclusion that, yeah, predators shouldn't exist, then once we have the technology, we should absolutely use it.
Okay, but then I found the symmetry breaker, as you call it, right? Because as I said
Okay.
it before, then if in the future we have solutions, if in the near future we have solutions where we don't need to kill them, but rather just contain them and feed them, like let's say lab-grown meat, then why would we choose to kill them right now? And you said because right now we have the technology, and now right now you're saying we don't have the technology to do it. So
Yeah, so again, I'm assuming the technology that we're going to have in the future is going to develop, and we'll probably have the technology to engineer an ecosystem that requires eradicating predatory species before we develop a like even more advanced technology where we don't have to eradicate any species and we can force them to like live in walled off containers in large areas where we can feed them like lab grown meat or something.
okay, so what your solution is that we right now at this moment in time, like, and I don't mean today, but like in the present moment, that we invest our time in technology that could kill and remove the predators instead of investing our time in technology that could not kill the predators, but rather contain them and feed them somehow. Why is that the moral solution when both of like the options are to either invest in one that kills or one that contains them? Why would the moral solution be the one that kills?
Well, again, the assumption is we're going to have the technology first that would allow us to eradicate them. So
But you don't.
so if we have that technology first, then we should use it first.
Okay, but we don't know that we'll have that technology first, right? So,
Sure.
and you propose, and you proposing that we, because at this moment in time, right, the solution of calling the predators is merely about what do we want to invest our time and effort into, right? Do we want to invest our time and effort into the solution of calling predators or the solution of containing them? We know the problem. The problem is predators exist and they infringe on others' rights. What I disagree on, and we agree on the problem, what we disagree on, I see, is the solution, right? Because I think we should invest our technology in containing them and then trying to find a way to not kill them. And you say we should invest our solution into our money and time into killing the predators.
Okay, so let's say we were living in 1940s and we know that Nazis are trying to kill Jews. Should we kill the Nazis or should we invest technology into finding out some sort of way to not kill a single Nazi and try to make some like happy la la peace land where we have, you know, magical wands that can just make everybody love each other? Like again, chances are the more expedient solution is going to be to just eradicate the Nazis.
In this hypothetical scenario, are we in a time where Nazis have already started killing Jewish people?
Yeah, yeah. So should we invest in technology so we can make magic wands or science wands that make everybody love each other, or should we just use the technology that we already have on hand to just eradicate Nazis?
Oh, in this hypothetical scenario, I will ask you: shouldn't we first, let's say, try to stop them without killing them, and then if
No.
that doesn't work, then we kill them?
No.
Why not?
So again, with a school shooter example, if there was a school shooter and you were on the other side of a door and he's going to one by one execute his classmates, are you going to try to negotiate with him while he's executing each of his classmates one by one?
I mean, if I'm with a gun in front of him and I can stop him with the gun, I will probably shoot him, right? That's the case.
Yeah, right.
But
so
if,
the issue is, while we're talking about, well, we can find some other strategy to not kill anybody, the perpetrator that we're trying to stop is currently committing murder.
yes, and you should stop the perpetrator from committing murder.
Right, and the technology that we're likely going to have on hand requires murder, like eradication.
Okay, so what you're saying, okay, because from all I got a bit confused from all these hypotheticals. So what you're saying is that, I'm bringing it back to the whole culling predators thing. What you're saying is that the technology for culling predators will most likely, for culling all predators, would most likely be there faster than the technology to containing them and
Yeah,
trying
exactly.
to keep them alive. Yeah, okay. So, but then I ask you, because does it, I actually, honestly, like in this case, does it matter what the difference in time is between when we reach one technology or the other?
Yeah, it does. Because if it's not at the same time, then why would you allow for rights violations to occur when you could stop it? Like again, okay, so let's use the school shooter example. Okay, so there's a school shooter, he's locked in a room with 15 of his classmates. He's going to execute them one by one. So it takes him, let's say, 30 seconds between each killing to, kill one student. And you have a gun right now that you could use to shoot and kill him, but it will take you 2 minutes to come up with another technology, like, I don't know, some sort of special taser or something, to stop him. So in 2 minutes, you'll be able to have another technology that will stop him without killing him, but in the meantime, he'll kill four people. But right now, you have a gun that you can use that would, kill him immediately before he could kill anybody. What's the moral solution?
That's a very interesting question. I don't know what the moral solution is.
Well, the moral solution's fucking obvious. I'll answer it for you. It's killing him before he can kill 4 people.
Obviously, that's what I would do, right? I can't be dishonest and say that that's not something I would do, but I don't know if that is necessarily the moral solution, right?
Yeah, it is. If you value the rights of others, you would prevent a greater amount of rights violations from occurring. And even if you're a utilitarian, obviously, from a utilitarian perspective, 1 person dying is better than 4 people dying.
So I'm not a utilitarian. The reason why I mentioned the utilitarian views was because it just seemed to me like more of this is kind of a utilitarian approach. But like the biggest difference between this hypothetical scenario and the scenario where the calling of the predators are is that there is a moral agency and bad intent, right? Where the child has bad intent, right? Whereas in the other situation, all of these animals don't know any better. So,
well, again, it's assumed in the hypothetical with a school shooter, he had a psychotic breakdown and he doesn't have moral agency. So again, we've already gone through the moral agency question, and you conceded that it doesn't matter.
Okay, but there is these situations aren't equivalent because. So I'm going to try to find the situation. Okay, let's see. Let's say we have this situation, right? Russia versus Ukraine. It's clear that Russia is attacking Ukraine, right? It's clear that should we, as human beings, all unite and eradicate Russia from the face of Earth because they are violating the rights of others?
Well, it would only be the Russian military.
The Russian military and anybody else to otherwise violate the rights, right?
Yeah, sure.
Even premeditated. Even if we know that maybe if we kill half of them, we could somehow contain it and then stop it later on.
I don't know what you mean by that.
I also no. It's based on your I'm trying to go based on your hypotheticals, and based on those hypotheticals, that doesn't make sense. You're right. Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. I don't know. I got your point of view. I understood what you mean. And I think so. Coming back to the predators thing, with the technology thing again, what you're saying. Let me pose a hypothetical back at you to see if I understand it correctly, right? So this child shooter shoots a person every 30 seconds, and the technology takes 2 minutes, right?
Yeah,
The
so like to make this sound as practical as possible, there's a school shooter locked in a room. You can burst in and shoot him with a gun that you have right now. Every 30 seconds, he's going to execute one kid. So you can either shoot him right now, but there's another police officer at the other end of the school who's going to take 2 minutes to give you a taser, which you could use to incapacitate the school shooter. So what's the better moral decision? Should you just burst into the room, kill the school shooter, or wait 2 minutes for the taser, in which four kids will die in the meantime?
Of course, bursting into the room and killing
Yeah,
the
right.
child would be the most moral solution. But the question is then, what, like as you said, it takes 2 minutes to give you a taser. Then my question is, if it takes 30 seconds to give you a taser, and it takes 30 seconds for the person to shoot another child, then the question is, should you tase the child? Should you wait to tase the child,
No,
or should you
you should
kill the
burst in and
child?
kill him before he can kill a single student, because he's the one violating the rights of another kid. I don't have some like weird retarded utilitarian ethic where I treat the murderer the same as the victim.
And you shouldn't treat the murderer the same as the victim. And this is where I think the moral agency thing stems, right? Because if the murderer doesn't have moral agency and doesn't know that they are committing murder, then it's their life versus the other life.
Yeah, I don't know why the moral agency matters, because they're the ones perpetrating. I don't put the same moral weight on the perpetrator as the victim, regardless of whether or not they have moral agency. They're the ones perpetrating.
Yeah, I guess the problem I have with this, they're the ones perpetrating, is that like if in their mind what they're doing is what their mind was designed to do, or what they think is right, then you on the outside as an external viewer deciding that whether to kill them or to kill the other, I don't know. I mean, I don't know which one is moral, to be honest. I think like it's kind of, it's
Okay,
very
well
gray area.
let's put you in the victim's shoes. Let's say some crazy person broke out of a mental hospital. You were the first person they came across, and so the police have prior knowledge that this person is a crazy, deranged lunatic. They have a knife. They're a few feet away from you. The police officer can take out his gun and shoot the guy, or the police officer can run a few feet, let you die at the hands of this deranged lunatic, but pull out his taser and then tase the guy and just arrest him and put him back in the loony bin. Would you want the police officer to not take the shot, let you die, and then just tase the crazy deranged lunatic and put him back in a loony bin?
Well, obviously, if I'm the victim, I would want them to stop, right? That is 100%
Right, so
clear.
can you give me a
But
symmetry breaker between you being the victim and other victims in a scenario where you would be okay with the police officer killing the person that has no moral agency, but you wouldn't be okay with a police officer killing a person that has no moral agency, and you letting them kill the victim?
Okay, but what I want to say with this is, like, if I try to put myself, let's say, if I'll throw a hypothetical out there, okay? If I'm in a scenario where somebody has drugged me in a sense, and I go into a scenario where, without my knowledge, I kill a person every 30 seconds, and the police officer has either the option to kill me or the other person, and then somehow I wake up or whatever, then obviously I would rather they kill the other person, even if I would, if that they would tase me and stop me rather than killing myself, right? So
Okay, no,
you see
no,
why?
no, 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 no. I want the symmetry breaker. So if there was somebody who was about to kill you who lacked moral agency, you would want a police officer to shoot and kill that person rather than let them kill
Yes.
you. So what is the symmetry breaker between you being in that situation and somebody else being in that situation where you wouldn't be comfortable with a police officer using lethal force to protect a victim?
There is no symmetry breaker. If I was in the position of
Okay,
the
cool.
victim,
So
I
then
would
you
always
would,
want
if there's
myself.
no symmetry breaker, then you would have to admit that it's moral to kill somebody, even if they lack moral agency, to prevent them from killing a victim.
Let me think. Is it, because the question is it moral? I mean, I definitely want that to happen. I don't know if it's moral or not. That's the thing, isn't it? Because I can, as I said, I can pose a hypothetical where I'm in the position not of the victim but of the perpetrator, where I don't know what I'm doing, and then in that position I still would not want myself, because I would see myself as the victim in that situation, right? If somebody drugs me and makes me kill a person every 30 seconds, then
Okay,
I'm the
okay, like, what's the threshold for this? Because if somebody drugged me and turned me into a deranged lunatic and I was about to kill an innocent person, I'd want the police to kill me. So, like, let's scale this. Let's say somebody drugged you and you got access to a nuclear bomb where you are about to kill, let's say, 3 million people. Would you want a police officer to, like, intervene and kill you?
worse. But the
So,
scenario,
so does the scale, like, is it okay if you kill one person, two people, 10 people, 20 people, 100, 1,000, a million?
I think the only thing that matters is not necessarily the scale of it, no, but it's rather that if it's one versus one, right? If I am, if in this scenario, like the hypothetical that I'm trying to say is that if you're drugged and you happen to not have killed anyone before that, but you are about to kill somebody, right? And it's very clear, it's 100% sure that you're about to kill somebody, and the police can either try to let you kill that person and then tase you, or kill you directly, right? The question is, which one is the moral thing? Because you are in a situation where you are also a victim because you've been drugged to do so. You don't know any better. And there's also the victim where you would otherwise be killing, who's also an innocent person, right?
Right, you can recognize both as a victim. You can see carnivorous animals as a victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
But the moral, like, in my opinion, the moral thing, especially if we scale this, where we know a carnivorous animal is going to kill many victims over the course of its life unless we intervene, the moral thing to do clearly is to kill the carnivorous animal. And I think it's pretty clear that even if somebody's a victim of circumstance where they have a psychotic break or they're unknowingly drugged, and then they have like some sort of breakdown where they end up killing somebody, like, in my view, it's ethical to kill the person even though they're still a victim of circumstance.
I see what you mean. Uh, yeah, I get I guess I agree with you partly. I don't know. Like, I feel like because with morality, right? It just boils down to uh, when you get into these situations, it just boils down basically to what the heck even is morality, right? Because
Well, it's
if you're
personal
in, I
preference. I
feel
mean, you can have a personal preference for
okay.
everybody to be exterminated and be a nephilist.
Okay. So then, if it is personal preference, then in the hypothetical that I presented to you, where, and I'm sorry for coming back because I feel like you haven't responded to that, but like in a situation where you're drugged and you're about to kill somebody, and the police can either choose to shoot you or you shoot that person, and then you're incapacitated. Would you say that to you is your personal preference that the police shoots you, or that you shoot that person and then you still keep your life? What is your personal preference?
My personal preference would be for the police to shoot me.
Oh, interesting. So if you were okay, so then if you were in a desert island scenario where you were either faced with killing one person or the other person killing you, is you would let the other person kill you to survive, not you kill them to survive.
Like, it really depends on okay, so you might have to frame that in a certain way. Like, if we're on a desert island, is it assumed that if neither of us kill each other, we'd both die?
Yes.
Okay, well, if it's assumed that if neither of us kill each other and we'd both die, then I'd probably just kill the other person if we're both going to die anyway. So if the choice is between both of us die or one of us die, I have a greater interest in myself living than the other person living. So I'd kill the person. But if it's a circumstance where, say, there's three people, um,
But can I
wait, let me think
before
of
we
it. Let me
but
just.
before we dive,
Okay, go ahead.
I still
What?
have some questions about. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Before we have all of this, I'm still have because I feel like that's the where I see a bit of an inconsistency, right? Because the choice isn't between both of you killing or both of you dying or one of you dying, right? Let's say that the hypothetical scenario has it predefined that if you do not eat the other person or the other person doesn't eat you, you will both die, obviously, right? So, but your choice is not whether both of you dying or one of you dying. Your choice is between you dying or him dying. So it's the same in the scenario that I presented when you're drugged up and the police can either shoot you or you shoot them. It's either between your life or their life. But you see that in one scenario you choose your life, and in the other scenario you choose their life.
Right, but in the police scenario, I'm the one who's the perpetrator. And
But
it's
you
not
are
and the decision that can be made is either we allow the perpetrator to live and the victim to die, or we kill the perpetrator and we allow the victim to live. In the island scenario, it's either we both die or one of us lives. That's a different set of circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, you choose to see it that way, but in this,
No, that's the way it is. That's the way you outlined it in the hypothetical. So in the one hypothetical, it's either or. In the other hypothetical, it's both or one.
trying to think. Okay, I
So
see what you mean, because
it's either it's one person dies in the first hypothetical, or it's both die or one lives.
but let me tell you why in the desert island scenario it's not a choice between both die or one of you dies, right? Because in that scenario, your choice, and we're talking about your choice only, right? We don't have to look at the system as a whole, but rather your choice, right? So in that scenario, your choice is either you act and kill that person, or you don't act and that person kills you.
Right, but these situations are asymmetrical. Again, in the psycho scenario, it's either he dies or I die, but one of us lives. In the island scenario, we either both die or one of us lives.
If you look at it like that, yes. But if you look at it like from the action that you can or cannot do, right? Because that's what we're questioning here, right? We're questioning which one is the moral action to be done, right? Is the moral action for you to not do anything and let the other person die, or is the moral action for you to do something
Well,
and kill the
no,
other person, right?
so on the island scenario, it's either is the ethical option for us to both die, or is it for one of us to kill and then live?
But you're not in charge of what the other person will do. You're only in charge of what yourself would do. So you cannot say that it is moral for you to like it seems like you're trying to make the choice also for the other person, where you can either choose for both of you to die or he dies. For it's not that's not the choice, is it? The
Well, that
choice
is the
is you
choice.
can either this. Well, the way I see it, your choice is either you chose to do something and then the other person dies, or you choose to not do something and then you die.
Well, we'd both
You don't
die.
know if the other person. Well, you don't know if the other person dies or
It
not.
was
It's
assumed in
your
the
choice.
hypothetical.
Well, no, in my hypothetical, said that it's either your life or his life, right? If
Well,
you can
I asked
only
you to
choose for
clarify in the
yourself.
hypothetical on the island scenario, if we choose not to kill each other, do we both die? And you said, yeah, you'd both die of starvation. But if one of you kills the
Okay, okay.
other, then you live.
Okay, I see. Okay, then I'm sorry for posing the hypothetical. By the way, it's my bad. Okay, no. Then let's say you're in a hypothetical where you cannot communicate with this other person. I don't know why. There's just a lack of communication between you and it. Maybe let's just even put an animal in the other place, right? You can have absolutely zero communication with that animal, and you're put in a scenario where you're almost both hungry, dead hungry. So you can either choose to kill that person, or you can choose to die and that person kills you. So the question is, what would you choose in that scenario?
Yeah, so if the option is we either both die of starvation, or I can choose to kill the other person, or the other person could choose to kill me, and one of us lives, then at least depending on the person, I would probably choose to kill the person so I could live.
Yeah, but I think the way you frame it isn't the way I mentioned it just now, right? I
What do you mean?
specifically said
You just said in the hypothetical we're both going to starve to death unless one of us kills the other.
no. I just said in this scenario, you're with the individual who you cannot communicate with, so you
Okay.
don't know if they're gonna starve to death. All you know is that if you don't kill that individual, you're gonna starve to death, and if you die, that individual could theoretically eat you, and they're not gonna die.
Okay, so I know that I will certainly starve to death. I don't know if the other
Exactly.
person will starve to death.
You don't know if the other person will starve to death if you choose to do nothing. Most likely, the other person will eat you if you do nothing.
This is assuming after I die of starvation.
after you die of starvation or the other person killing you, yeah, one or the other. I don't.
Okay,
Let's say
then
die of
it kind
starvation.
of then I guess it would depend on my view of fairness. So if they, I don't know, have more food than me, then I don't know, if they're not willing to share their food, then yeah, I might just kill them.
Okay, so but there's no if they have more food, they don't have none of you have food, right? That both of you are
Then
somehow.
why would I
Uh,
assume that I don't know if they're going to starve to death?
um, I mean, you don't. I think like we're looking at different point of views, right? Because your point of view is that
Like, one way to make
either
this work is if they're a colossal fat ass and they could maybe out survive me just because they have more body fat. Like, in that
I
case,
see
then
what you
I
mean.
guess I'd be okay with, like, just starving to death and letting them live.
I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't think we're going anywhere with this hypothetical. I'm sorry. But it's anyway. The only reason why I mentioned this hypothetical and I try to tie it to the other problem is that I do believe that there are situations when it's either your life versus another life, right? Like that's kind of where I was pointing at. And the question is, when you're in a situation where it's your life versus the other person's life, is it moral for you to kill that other person, or is it moral to do nothing and have the other person kill you, or you die somehow? I don't know.
If
I don't
they're the
necessarily
one
have to.
who's violating my rights, then yeah, I would say it's worthwhile to kill the person.
If I'm the one violating your rights, right? But like, okay, let's suppose a hypothetical where there's this evil genius. I'm just going around by hypotheticals. If there's this evil genius, they trapped you both into this incredibly complex machine. You both of you have guns, and he clearly mentions it very clearly that either one of you, either you kill the other person or the other person kills you. There's no way around it, right?
Yeah, like a Saw
It's
movie, sure.
Sure. Yeah. So in that situation, which one would be the ethical situation? Would it be ethical for you to kill the other person?
Well, if we're both gonna die, then sure.
I see. So your scenario is only if we're both going to die otherwise. Yeah. Okay. I see. And I think I understand that point of view. You're right. And that's not necessarily related to the calling of predators, because in that scenario, not both of them die, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
wouldn't
see
be a
that point.
contradiction.
That wouldn't be a contradiction. I guess my only the way I see it is that, but you already debunked that, and we already discussed that. Like if the lion is starving and the only way for them to survive is to take the life of a gazelle, that in that situation it's either the gazelle dies or the lion dies, and it's we should. I think in that particular
Yeah, we should
situation,
kill the lion.
because they're the predator,
Yeah.
even if they're put in a situation just like we would be otherwise be put in a
Yeah.
situation where. It's,
Yeah,
okay,
I don't see how
interesting.
agency matters.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I don't know. I believe morality is strongly related to intent, and I don't think that if I accidentally run over somebody, I necessarily did something immoral, right?
Well, you did something bad. You just can't be held responsible for the action.
Okay. So what you're saying is that the action is immoral, but I'm not responsible for it.
Well, you could consider the action a rights violation, but you wouldn't be responsible for it necessarily. That doesn't
Okay.
mean you shouldn't intervene before you commit the action.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. But I mean, if you do all your best and you still accidentally kill them, then is it moral or is it immoral that you kill them?
I don't know exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm kind of all over the place right now. So my point, I guess, in this other thing that I was posing is, if I am driving with my car and I accidentally run over somebody, if I did my best to try and not do that, of course, like I would normally do, then me running over this person, would that be considered moral or immoral?
If you did it by accident,
Yeah.
well, I don't think I'd call it immoral or moral. It's an accident. Like, there's no intention behind it.
So intent does matter.
Like, it kind of depends, like, what exactly you're talking about. Like, what's the situation in which you'd run somebody over?
what's the situation? As I said, I'm just driving and I accidentally run them over, right? My intent was never to run them over, but I just accidentally killed the person.
Well, like, if the brakes on your car suddenly fail, then you're not responsible for that. If you're on your cell phone or drunk, then there is a
Oh, I see
level of
what you mean.
responsibility. Like, it just kind of depends what you mean.
Yeah,
Like, there's
let's say there is no
accidents, there's,
responsibility.
like, if there's no responsibility, so, like, if the brakes on your car suddenly fail because there's a manufacturer defect, then, yeah, you're not the one responsible for that.
Okay, so then in that in that scenario, right? I kill a person. It's not my fault. It's not my intent. And somehow the action of me killing a person is not immoral. However, the lion killing a gazelle is not their intent to kill a gazelle. They just want to survive. They just like they don't know any better, so they don't actually perceive that idea of intent on them killing. They just see food, right, or whatever. I don't know. So I kind of see them as similar situations. Am I wrong to see them as similar
Like,
situations?
no. Because we know the lion is going to keep doing it. So, like, if you were to keep running, like, kids over on the road because you didn't stop at a red light, I mean, the obvious thing to do would be to stop you through any means possible.
Okay, and let's say if it's a if for some reason you know that the lion is going to die afterwards for whatever reason, because they're very old or something. I don't know. You just have some intel that in this
Like,
hypothetical scenario where
like the analogy to make here would be like if you're in a Tesla with self-driving and suddenly the
yeah.
system malfunctioned and it just kept running people over and there was no way to shut off the car. The ideal thing to do would probably be to like blow up the car or kill the driver or something to stop the car. So yeah, I mean, even though it like that's basically the idea.
Okay, I see. I see what you mean. Yeah, y- but to me, maybe I am wrong about this, but to me, and that's why I called it a utilitarian view. To me, this is kind of a utilitarian view, right? Because to me, if the person in the Tesla is doesn't have any bad intent, tries to do their best, and yeah, you should try and stop them, but I don't like. I think somebody killing the person in the Tesla is, yes, overall doing better for everybody because there would be less rights violations. But I don't find that the person who is killing the person from Tesla in the Tesla being a moral thing to do, because the person in the Tesla is a victim of circumstance.
Okay. Like again, what outcome do you want to see? Would you prefer the guy in the Tesla to keep running over children again and again and again and again until the car runs out of battery, or would you prefer to kill the guy in the Tesla by blowing the Tesla up? If those were the two options.
Well, am I an external thing? Am I the guy in the Tesla, or am I one of the people who's about to get
It
run
doesn't
over?
matter.
Well, the way I see it, the only situation where I would not want the car to be blown up is if I'm in the person in the Tesla.
Then what's the
If I'm in the
symmetry
Tesla,
breaker? Like the symmetry breaker is you're just more important than everybody else?
I don't think I'm more important than anybody else, but I also don't think that if I'm a victim of circumstances where I'm put in a situation that accidentally
Okay,
things
so if
happen.
you're in if you're in a runaway Tesla that has a malfunctioning self-driving and it's going to keep running over children until the car runs out of battery, would you prefer to run over 20 children or have the car blow up and kill you?
Yeah, obviously, I would prefer to have. I would, if I could choose myself to press a button and blow up the Tesla before they run over more children. Yeah, of course, I would probably do that. But yeah, you're right. Maybe I would probably do that. I don't know.
Right.
I think my
And
question is,
a tiger is a runaway Tesla that's going to keep killing until it dies.
yeah, it's. I understand the perspective and the overall view. I do. I just have trouble because when it comes to morality and empathy, I try to look at it from different perspectives, right? And if you were in the shoes of the lion, where you do something that you don't know that
Well,
you're
what's
doing
the
is
symmetry break?
correct,
Like again, what's the symmetry breaker if it's you personally or somebody else?
um, I don't know what the symmetry breaker is. No, there's no. I just think like I don't know if we can. if you look from the outside in, it can be simple to find. That's why I call it a utilitarian view, right? It's a utilitarian view of it, right? Because you look from the outside in and you say, well, one victim versus more victims, right? That's all that it is. But the reality is that if we were to kill a lion that's about to attack 100 gazelles, right? If you're still the moral thing to do, unfortunately, would be to let the lion starve to death. You stop them from killing any of the gazelles, and then because you don't want any rights violated, right? You also don't want the lion's right to eat or be whatever they are.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal
violated.
world, nobody would die, but that's not the option that we have. We can either kill the lion or let the lion run amok and kill a gazelle.
Yeah, but when we talk about morality, shouldn't we strive for the ideal world? Shouldn't we talk about morality in an ideal world, or right?
Well,
I mean, like,
we don't
I
live
feel
in an
like,
ideal world. Like, I mean, oh, well, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have had to kill Hitler and the Nazis. Like, why can't we just all get along? Like, again, that's not what makes these moral issues difficult. Okay, who the fuck is
yeah, I
this?
get.
Wait, I don't know who Enk is, but Scare Theater, I think, wanted to jump in.
Yeah, wait, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sick. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay. Power Lab, you here too?
Yeah, I'm here. But by the way,
Okay.
before we go, I only have maybe like 10 or 15 minutes left because I gotta go eat something and I'm super hungry. So let's
Okay.
go.
Yeah, I don't mind if you stick around. We can like tag team this shit. But basically, I guess I mean I don't really want to see this as like a debate because I just don't like the whole like winning losing thingy. I see more of like a discussion. So
Yeah.
But yeah, that aside, okay. So I guess I'm sort of on the fence about the whole like culling all carnivores thing, and the main reason is because I feel like when it comes to survival, ethics are just thrown off the table in almost every situation at that point. Like I know that Beacon Power Lab earlier was saying that there might be some situations where even Richard, you would agree that morality probably doesn't really apply here, like the island situation where you're on an island with one person.
Well, morality does apply.
Okay, well, so in that island
Like,
situation,
I don't have infinite value.
So let's look at that island situation again then. So it's you and one person on an island. You're probably both gonna die unless one of you kills and eats the other. You said that you would kill and eat them because you value your own life, yes?
Yeah, and if we're both gonna die, I value my own life more than the other person.
Would it be morally wrong for you to kill that person?
Not from my perspective, if we're both gonna die.
So would it be wrong for them to kill you?
No.
Great, okay, I agree. And the reason why is because you had no choice. You literally had to do it. You were going to die otherwise.
No, you don't have to do it.
Well, okay, well, in order to live, you do. That's for me when I say necessary, I mean if you don't do this, you're going to die.
Well, again,
even if
how
they
do
killed
you,
me-
like, okay, are you gonna die in 10 days? Are you gonna die in a year? Are you gonna die in 10 years?
Well, I
But,
mean,
like, again, necessary is a really weird term, even when you're talking about whether you're gonna die or not.
in this island situation, it's part of the hypothetical that if you don't kill this person, you're going to die on this island, and if you kill them, I mean, let's just say that will buy you enough time to be rescued. Let's just say that
Yeah,
we know
sure.
this for some reason. So I guess that's one of those situations where it's like, even if I'm the one being harmed, I can still be harmed by someone and still acknowledge, like, objectively, I don't think what they did was wrong. Like, any given situation where someone either had to kill me or kill themselves, obviously, I want them to kill themselves, but I also understand they're probably not going to do that. So,
well, we're not infinitely valuable, so if you were on an island and you had to kill 1,000 children in order to survive, would killing 1,000 children be ethical?
see, that's where it gets tough, right? I know that sounds
Well, it doesn't get
to
tough.
say,
You're not infinitely valuable.
yeah, I would say it probably gets a little more clear there, because I do think the right option there would be to kill myself, right? Rather
I
than
don't think
kill
I would do
1,000
that.
kids,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, it's harder if
I
you
don't
don't
know
want to die, but I mean, yeah, of course, the more
Exactly.
virtuous thing would be to kill yourself and save 1,000 lives, clearly. But the point that I was more getting at was that, like, when it comes to eating meat, is the only reason I don't eat meat is because I don't have to. I won't die if I can live off just eating plants and stuff. But if the situation were that human beings had to eat meat to survive, I would probably just eat meat. Like Richard, I think you said that if that were the case, you would gladly die, right?
Yeah.
That's really interesting to me. Like, you truly think that if tomorrow circumstances changed and you had to eat meat to survive, you would die for this?
Yeah. I'm not infinitely valuable, so if I had to kill, I don't know, say 2,000 animals over the course of my life to live out my existence, I don't think that justifies my existence.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'm just viewing this from an emotional point or something. But I mean,
Well, let's say, you just said you wouldn't kill 1,000 children in order to survive. So what's the symmetry breaker here? Like, name the trait that's lacking in animals that if lacking in a
Well,
human being, you'd be okay with
that's technically not what I
murdering
said.
thousands of human beings to stay alive.
Well, that isn't what I said. I said that I think it would definitely be more virtuous for me to kill myself over the 1,000 people. But it's just it's harder to do that because dying is such this like scary thing. Like there's like I understand the logical point, but there's this emotional point that is very very real. And likewise, let's say I were part of that 1,000 people that were going to die unless this one guy killed himself. Like obviously I wanted to kill himself, and I try to reason with that. But like it's so hard to blame someone for not killing themselves.
But
Yeah,
have a
I mean, you
question
can
here.
sympathize with the situation, but like, we're talking about an ethics situation, not just, well, I do something wrong out of my own interest.
Well, that's why I think that when it comes to survival, I don't know if anything is really wrong. I mean that probably comes
Okay, so would you okay, like, I mean, would you damn an infinite number of people to infinite torture for all of eternity, so just so that you can live?
Okay, I guess no, probably not.
Right, so you're not infinitely valuable.
No, yeah. There is a line that I would draw somewhere, I suppose.
But I have a question here, right? Because I've been questioning, like, I feel like morality is something, it's definitely not objective, right? We can all agree that morality is not objective. So in that sense, morality sort of derives from who we are biologically as individuals, or how our brain has developed, or whatever. I don't know, necessarily can't pinpoint why we think some things are moral and why we think some things are immoral. And that's kind of what we're trying to do right here, right now, right? Discuss this. And the question is, if we were, like, say, in this scenario, we were carnivorous beings, we would still have somehow higher intellect, and we would be carnivorous beings, and we would still be moral agents. Would morality be different for us in that scenario? Would it be because it would be within our nature that we would have to engage in killing other individuals to survive? Would morality in that sense be something else than what it is now?
No, I'm sure people would try to rationalize why it's okay to kill, but I don't think it would change the actual moral landscape.
Because morality is in itself also logical, right? What we do is
no, it doesn't have to be logical, but I mean, logical consistency is a moral value, so you might not value logical consistency.
No, but I mean, like, if you're, yeah, okay. But the way I see it, right, we say it's wrong to kill others. It's wrong because we don't want that done unto us, right? That's kind of like, I think, like, the golden rule is kind of the baseline of morality for us, isn't it?
No, like, it might be for some people, but other people it's not. It just depends on your own set of preferences.
Well,
Fair enough, but we can...
Oh. Okay, I'll go.
Okay,
One thing I wanted to ask
go.
was, so, okay, you mentioned the whole, like, culling all carnivores, but you also acknowledge that, at least at this moment, that isn't something that's really possible. This is just like a thought experiment on like what ethically would be the best thing to do. But while we're talking about impossible scenarios, why not just change it and say, okay, well, instead of culling all carnivorous animals, why not put them into an environment where they can all only kill each other, or where I don't know, we can somehow.
Well, if they're killing each other, they're
no
still committing rights violations
against each other, even though they're all murderers.
Yeah.
But you still want to kill them.
Why would I want murderers to kill murderers?
Well, you're saying
like, I just murder all the murderers.
Why is it only a rights violation if they kill each other, but not if someone else kills them?
What do you mean? They'd just be violating each other's rights.
Well, yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I get that, but you said it's okay to kill them anyway.
Yeah, it's okay to kill them to prevent rights violations.
Yeah, so why does it matter who's doing the killing? Whether it's the two killers killing each other, or it's me as like the moral agent here just killing them both?
Well, the idea is to prevent rights violations, so if killers are killing each other, I'd preferably kill all the killers, so that the killing doesn't happen.
So you're saying
it did happen.
rather...
You did it all at once.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, what's the point being made?
How did we got here? Because I was talking about alternatives to simply killing all carnivores, since we're talking about these situations that aren't realistic anyway. Like, okay, let's say that at some point, in the distant future, let's say we have two options that arrive at the exact same time. One is that we can kill every carnivore, or we have some other option that also addresses the issue, but they don't have to die.
Surely yeah, the preferable option would be for nobody to die.
Okay. Yeah. All right, that's pretty much all I had for you. I only had like 3 things written here. So.
Okay.
All right, good talk, good stuff.
All right, take care, man.
Okay. Okay, so I'm also gonna go soon, Richard. So as far as I understand, just to be, by the way, my name is Chip. If you wanna call me
Okay.
something not other than my handle. So the way I see it, what I got from this discussion is this, and maybe tell me that I got something right or wrong. I just like to summarize what we discussed. So we're in the current present. We don't have the technology to kill all predators anyway, right? So the question is, at this point in time, is it moral to invest in technology that kills all the predators, or to invest in technology that stops them from killing? But what you said is that probably the technology for killing all predators would be reached faster, and therefore less rights violations would happen. But when we kill those people, I think we're still committing rights violations, right? When we kill those lions or whoever don't. Even if the intent is to stop them from committing even more rights violations. So I would still, if you ask me, I would still advocate for the second option. So that's kind of my position. I understand your position is on the other side, but I think we can both agree that we don't want any wildlife suffering also, right? So that's kind of what I got from this discussion.
Okay, but you do acknowledge if the technology existed first to kill all predatory animals, it would be the moral thing to do to kill all the predatory animals.
I do acknowledge that if we do have the technology to kill all predators, then at that point in time, a very complex calculation needs to be done as to whether we should be killing all the predators then, or should we be delaying the moment until we can stop them, right?
Well, we already answered that question with the police analogy, waiting for the taser, and the kids in the classroom.
Let me see. Did we? Because
yeah. So you have a gun right now, and on the other side of the door, there's a kid with an AR-15. Every 30 seconds, he's going to kill another child. Or you could wait 2 minutes for another officer with a taser to come and tase the kid, but in the meantime, he's going to kill 4 students. So I think you said the moral thing to do would be to just burst into the room and kill the kid before he can kill anybody else.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess then the only thing that I don't find it, the only situation where I don't see this hypothetical working necessarily for the predators in the wild thing is that there's a lot of predators, there's a lot of prey also for them, right? So if in the end we calculate that we would be killing 100 predators that would otherwise kill, let's say, 110 prey, right? It would obviously be better to kill 100 predators, right? But if we find that if we kill 50 of them, we still save 5 lives, but then in the end we by the time we kill all 50 of them, we have the technology to stop the other 50, then we would be theoretically killing less lives. But we would killing less lives or taking right violations, the same thing, right? In this case, I don't know if you understood my point.
Okay, so you're saying if there were 4 school shooters, there's going to be a kid killed every 30 seconds, and it takes 2 minutes. You could have a situation where, by the time the taser gets to the classroom, you could end up with the same amount of deaths or possibly fewer.
I'm saying that there's okay.
Yeah, so if there's 4 school shooters, you can either burst through the door, shoot the 4 school shooters, or you could wait for the taser to come, and you'd only have to kill 2 of the kids, and then you could tase 2 of them. That would result in like fewer deaths overall. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know. Also, I don't know. I think like it's such a complex thing to think about, because obviously I think that's why I keep bringing moral agency. I don't necessarily mean moral agency, but rather intent, right? I think intent matters. I don't think we should ever be considering.
Well, agency is part of intent.
Okay, I'm not very versed in all of this lingo. I'm sorry, but like if the intent is, if it's bad intent, then obviously the person with bad intent has less moral value than the victim, right? So, but if both of them are very victims of circumstance, then that's when maybe we should approach it in a strictly numbers way. I don't know.
Yeah, Yeah, maybe, but I think it's obvious the moral thing to do would be to kill carnivorous animals if we had the option to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if we have some form of calculations that said, like some incredibly complex calculations in a hypothetical scenario, where we have the technology, we have the calculations, we know what we're doing and everything, and then we realize that killing the predators, it's between killing, like infringing on the rights of 100 predators or letting the predators infringe on the rights of 110 prey, then yeah, maybe infringing on the rights of predators is probably better. But we would need to have all of this technology, all of these calculations beforehand.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah.
I feel like we would be just premeditating something that's not necessarily valid.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Okay,
thanks for
so
coming on.
hey, thank you so much, man. I appreciate the talk. I like to understand my position better also, and yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Take care.